أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear audience, Assalamu alaikum. Today's topic is a very important topic and it's a discussion and it's a message on taking someone's own desires, wishes, impulses, and preferences as deities, meaning taking your own desires, preference over the injunctions, instructions, directions, and the commandments which are given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by doing this, in fact, what the humanity is doing, humanity is taking its own desires, wishes, and preferences as gods, as deities besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'm going to quote two verses from the Kitab Allah with the permission of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the today's talk. Verse number 43 of the Surah Al-Furqan, which is the 25th chapter of the Kitab-e-Aziz, and verse number 23 of the Surah Al-Jasiyah, which is the 45th chapter of the Kitab Allah. In the verse number 43 of the Surah Al-Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and through the beloved heart of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the address has been made to the whole of the humanity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking, Ara'aita man ittakhaza ilahahu hawahu afa anta takunu alayhi waqila. Meaning, have you ever considered the kind of man who makes his own desires his deity? Could you then, O Prophet, be held responsible for him? Let us concentrate on the messages of the Kitab-e-Aziz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking to all the humanity through the beloved heart of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ara'aita man ittakhaza ilahahu hawahu. Have you ever considered, have you ever thought of, have you ever made notice of someone who has taken his own desires, his own wishes, his own inclinations, preferences as deities, as gods? In reality, whenever someone takes his own desires over the commandments, instructions, injunctions, and orders given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's taking his own desires as his deities. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking, so have you ever considered that sort of a man who is taking his own desires, his own inclinations, preferences as his deity, as his God? Afa anta takunu alayhi wakila. Then, O Prophet, will you then be made responsible for him? In a questioning format, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has addressed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that you are not responsible for those individuals who are just following their own desires, their own wishes, their own preferences, their own inclinations, and they are not following the instructions, injunctions, commandments, and orders which are given by the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So are you, O Prophet, will be responsible for him? Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is not responsible for those individuals who are taking their desires as their deities. In the verse number 23 of the Surah Al-Jasiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again addressing to the humanity. Afara'aita man ittakhaza ilahahu hawahu wa azallahu Allahu ala ilmin wa khatama ala sam'ihi wa qalbihi wa ja'ala ala basarihi gishawatan faman yahdihi min ba'dillah afala tazakkarun. Meaning, have you ever considered the kind of man who makes his own desires his deity, and whom God has thereupon let go astray, knowing that his mind is closed to all guidance, and whose hearing and heart he has sealed, and upon whose sight he has placed a veil? Who then could guide him after God has abandoned him? Will you not then bethink yourselves? Let us pay heed to the messages of the Kitabullah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is again addressing Afaraita. Have you ever made notice of, have you ever considered, have you ever thought of manit tahaza, of a person who has taken ilahahu hawahu, who has taken his own desires, his own wishes, his own wishful thinkings as his God, as his deity, and he's just following his own desires. He's not paying heed to the messages of the Kitab-e-Aziz, and he's just following whatsoever his mind says. وَأَزَلَّهُ اللَّهُ ala ilmin, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our God, has made him, let him go astray, off track, deviate, knowing that his mind is close to all guidance. وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَجَعَلَ عَلَى بَصَرِهِ غِشَاوَةً, and he has sealed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because these people who are just following their own desires, their own inclinations, what happened due to their own actions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, seeing their intentions and their actions, places a seal on their hearing and on their heart, and he also places a curtain, a veil on their, on his eyes, so that he cannot, he is not able to understand the messages of the Kitab-e-Aziz. And in the later part of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, فَمَنْ يَهْدِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ اللَّهِ, that who can guide this sorts of individual, this sort of man or woman, who can guide him when Allah has let him go astray? Afala tazakkarun, will you not then bethink of yourselves? With this, I'm concluding today's talk with a very important message, that if we are believing in Allah and we believe him as a one God, we need to follow his commandments, his directions, instructions, and injunctions as given in the Kitabullah. But if someone who is just following his own desires, his own wishful thinkings, his assumptions, his inclinations, his own preferences, then in a practical way, he has not taken Allah as his God. He has taken his own desires, his own assumptions, his own wishful thinking, his own preferences as his God, as his deity. And by adopting these sort of practices, what happens? Allah lets those individuals go astray, and he places a seal on their hearing and on their heart, and he places a veil on their vision, so they cannot comprehend, they are not able to get the true message out of the Kitab-e-Aziz. And who can guide someone whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lets go astray? And towards the end of the verse number 23 of Surah Al-Jasiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Afala tazakkarun, will you not then bethink of yourselves? In fact, the most of the humanity, what is the humanity is doing? They are just following their own desires. They are following their own assumptions, wishful thinking, preferences, their own inclinations. They are not truly following the messages of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With this, I am concluding today's talk, and I seek Allah's forgiveness if there's any shortcoming in the delivery of the message. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين جزاكم الله خير.